Hello, everybody. Oh. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. This is Gertrude Matcha here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another amazing young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Lyra Lynn. I'm based on Big Island, Hawaii. I'm 37 years old. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit today about my journey, sort of rebirthing myself. For me, the turning point happened when I was, it was in 2013. So I guess that's about 8 or 9 years ago. And I was actually in the middle of a PhD program studying Buddhism at Columbia University in New York. But I was in Taiwan at that time. I was already at the dissertation stage. So I had already gone through 6 years of coursework in New York. And I found myself in Taiwan, which is actually the homeland of my father's side. So I think I was also touching base with my roots in a deeper way. I was born in New York City, and I hadn't really spent much time in Asia, China, Taiwan. So I was getting in touch with my roots. I was just feeling more emotions, allowing myself to feel more emotions. I think the freedom of moving to another place kind of opens things up in a new way. But I could feel this gnawing dissatisfaction start to creep in, and it would get stronger and stronger until one day I was working on my chapter 1 of my dissertation, and I felt like my fingers couldn't move on the keyboard anymore. Like no matter how much I tried, I just couldn't type another word. And that was so rare for me because I had always been like the good girl, the good student, just following the rules. And I was very good at making myself do whatever it is I thought I should be doing. So it was very rare for me to have a moment where I just, something larger was moving through me. And this larger force, I would call it the voice of my heart, of my soul, was just like, you need to stop what you're doing right now and listen. And so I actually did. I actually, for the first time, stopped and didn't push, forward. And I remember going back to my room and just crying and just feeling like, what just happened? Like, I don't know what's going on. I feel so strange. I don't know what to do. I gathered myself together. And then the next day I went to a little cafe, and I had just started working with a coach for the first time. And I remember he asked the question, or someone asked the question, what would you do if you had no fear? And so I decided to just, in this sort of meditative state, write that down on my journal. What would you do if you had no fear? And just spontaneously let the answer come out. And I wrote, I would quit school and go on a soul journey, Bardo. And I was like, okay, wow, what does that really mean? And so the first thing that came to mind was, am I going to travel to India? Am I going to take like this spiritual, physical journey? And then I tuned in a bit more. And Bardo is a Buddhist concept of the period in between death in this life and rebirth in the next. It's an in-between liminal period where the soul is traveling until it finds its next reincarnation. And so I said, why don't I do this rebirthing process while I'm still alive? And I don't have to go travel anywhere, but I'm just gonna, for the first time, really let myself die to the old, like just let it go, pretend like I have no idea who I am, forget about all the identities I've placed on myself, and just open up to maybe other things that I want to do. And so once I opened up that question, I began to have a lot of new experiences that started to step by step lead me forward, to where I am now.
Wow. It's amazing what happens when you open up your heart, open up your soul to other possibilities. It sounds to me like you stepped into literally the new you, this rebirth. And what a beautiful space to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what is the biggest thing about Buddhism that has attracted you?
That's a great question. Wow. Well, I was exposed to Buddhism from a young age, around age 6, 7. My dad started going to a meditation center in Queens, New York. So I kind of just stepped into that place, and there were all these Taiwanese Buddhist students of the teacher. He was teaching meditation, holding kind of traditional Chinese Buddhist ceremonies. So I remember the energy, the feeling there was very meditative. It was like all about calming the mind, just calming the mind, calming the emotions. And there was a spiritual energy there that's just something out of time, something not in the mundane world of hustle bustle, working. Like it was just this bigger energy. So I remember feeling that when I was younger and resonating with it. Like it just felt good and it felt familiar to me. So I was exposed a little bit to that environment, the Buddhist environment of kind of like peaceful presence and kind of like looking at the bigger picture beyond just the physical world. And then it wasn't until I was 18 that I found myself in a Buddhism class in college. And that's when I started actually learning more concretely the teachings of the Buddha. And again, I felt at home. I was like, oh, wow, this feels good. So to answer your question, what is it that drew me in? I think it was that there was a framework for finding peace within myself in a world that seems so unpeaceful sometimes, seems so chaotic and filled with suffering. It was like there was a pathway and a philosophy that made sense to me, that helped me just navigate the world. I would say most of all, a sense of peace moving through the teachings that I didn't find anywhere else that I was looking.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow. At a time like this where the world is in a bit of turmoil, this war in Ukraine, I was reading somewhere the other day that for there to be peace in the world, it has to start with each and every one of us, that peace begins with me, that
yeah,
we need to be
totally.
centered within ourselves to be able to experience that, to have a
Yes,
ripple effect that goes out into the world.
yes, yes.
So, what is your daily practice to keep yourself centered in peace?
hmm it's finding moments of meditation. And for me, the meditation is for even just a few moments, to kind of drop the thinking mind, like to not have the thoughts be dominant. And thoughts are usually concerned with sense of self, like what am I gaining, what am I losing. It's concerned with time, the past, the future. And so for me, the meditation is for a moment just popping out of that very I oriented way of being
Mhm.
to a more open space that can kind of feel more the connection, among all things, all elements of nature, the animals, the trees, and then other people too, to take other people as not separate from myself. So for me, meditation is finding time to cultivate the practice of taking the center of focus off of the small the I, like this personality that I've constructed, and just
Yes.
expand beyond that. And I find that when I expand that way, a lot of the little problems and concerns kind of melt away. So my practice is to not lose touch with this wider
Melt
awareness.
away.
Yeah.
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 That's really interesting, and such a blessing to hear that, and like I said, at this time in our lives when it just feels like chaos right now.
hmm
It
Yeah.
feels like the world is in a bit of a turmoil.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on this pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother used to say that when catastrophic events like this happen, there's something that humanity is supposed to be learning.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think the lesson is for all of us in what is going on in the world?
I feel it's to look at what in us is being touched by it, whether it's a heart opening, and it's a calling forth,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's a pain, like maybe we've held on to a resentment from our past and something
Yes.
in what we're seeing feels unfair or feels not right. So to me, it's kind of to depersonalize, not more personalize, actually, you know, not look at it as something that we can all agree upon, like this is what's happening. Same with war breaking out, like not
Yes.
to say we can all agree that this is exactly what's happening, because we don't actually know what's happening in a way. But what we can know is how is that those images on the screen, whether it's about the pandemic or war, how are those images touching me?
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
going to guide us inward to see, okay, what's unresolved in me, or what needs care inside of myself, what needs tending to inside of myself that maybe I haven't thought about until I started seeing these images. And it
Yes.
starts triggering memories. Like I work with people, and sometimes I just worked with someone, had a session with someone whose ancestry is from the Russia, the former Soviet Union. And
Mm-hmm.
so for her, it was like these things were triggering memories of, wow, what did my parents go through? What did my
Yes.
grandparents go through? What was it like when I immigrated, from Russia to Israel, And it's like, okay, what is this showing me that what in me wants attention right now? What
Yeah.
in me needs some more understanding? So that's kind of the opportunity that I see for all of us now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now you moved away from home. You said you grew up in New York and now you're in Hawaii. What
Mhm.
was that transition like? This rebirth, being totally on your own, away from family and friends. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I have a gypsy spirit of sorts. I wonder if it's ever, am I going to stay in Hawaii? But yeah, the first place I moved was Taiwan to do the dissertation research on Buddhism and Buddhist
Right.
deathbed practices. And I spent 2 years there. Um, and then I spent 3 years in Israel, which is actually where a lot of the rebirthing process was happening for me, because I
Yes.
met a man in Taiwan who was from Israel, and we fell in love. And then, I just found myself in Israel for
Wow.
a little over 3 years.
Yes.
Um, so that journey, I like being exposed to different people and to different culture and to different ways of being. And I remember when I arrived in Israel, actually another war kind of broke out, and I experienced what it's like to kind of be in a place where there's missiles like flying, and then there's the defense system shooting them down in the air. There's the sirens, going to tell people to take cover. And that was totally new for me. So I think that I just have a curious spirit, that
A very
I like
curious
to,
nature.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So where do you see yourself 5, 6, 10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, I feel that I would like to have a home base, and the feeling that I have on this island and what I've been learning about just being closer to nature and how to grow food and how to feed myself, and just a sense of resourcefulness that I didn't learn growing up in a city, where,
Yes.
like, the water goes on, the lights go on, it just goes, the food is in our grocery store. So I'm kind of like coming back to a different way where we can get the lighting from the solar panels, capture the energy of the sun. Our water comes from the rain, that's being caught in the tank, and food's coming from the earth. And that's like a total new thing for me,
Can you imagine?
So, yeah, I feel like the next few years will be this kind of relearning how to live more in harmony with the earth and to know the source more of where things come from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how incredible is that? What a blessing, though.
Yeah, I feel really blessed.
That is a real blessing that you're in this space where you're touching the earth, you're growing your food, you're harnessing the water.
Yeah. And I'm just a baby at it. Like, I'm more just watching people grow their food right now. But soon, I want to get my hands in there, but I'm just, soaking it in.
Yeah. Oh, that is just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So is there anything I should have asked you? I always ask this question because I meet so many fascinating people. And sometimes there's a nugget of wisdom that I didn't pull out of that person. Is there anything else you would like to share with our community?
Yeah, I think I would like to share maybe like a word of encouragement to anyone who maybe feels like they want to like step out of a familiar way of being. And I think the encouragement would come from kind of recognizing that this life is fleeting. We don't know when it's going to end. And there's nothing to lose by following your heart, by following something that's pulling you forward. And to maybe use meditation as a tool to release the fear that comes when we are overly identified with, me, just me and how I can gain, how I might lose, like how to protect, how to defend, just loosen that all up. Let the fear not be so dominant, and then that can give the courage to take a step forward, to take a leap of faith, and step into the unknown.
And stepping into the unknown is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming online and sharing these nuggets of wisdom with us today. I really look forward to staying in touch with you and finding out how you're doing and coming to Hawaii one of these days to actually meet you in person.
Yes, I would love that. Yes.
Now that I know you're there.
Right now.
It's on my bucket list of places to go.
Amazing. Aww.
But thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The HerStory movement is on a mission to connect 1,000 women in the month of March. When I started on the 1st, I was only aiming for 300 women. And then we got a major sponsor who came in yesterday, who's going to facilitate and allow me to curate 1,000 stories. And out of the 1,000 stories, we're going to pick 100 women who get to come to New Zealand and Australia next year. At the end of the year in December. So if you are one of those women, go onto our website, herstorycircle.com. Please register to speak. And we are going to have you back. Please remember to record the 15-minute presentation and send it to me. And again, pick a completely different topic, keep us inspired. If you have any meditation processes that you do, you could open up your presentation with something very spiritually grounding, because I'm trying to bring more women who have different ways of living to the platform. Because what you're doing is very, very pivotal in bringing about peace in the world. I do strongly believe that you are part of the solution we are all seeking. So thank you for focusing on you and reminding us that we need to focus on ourselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. Have a fantastic time. Bye for now. Thank you
Bye.
so much again for the interview.
Totally. Thank you.